Hey, it's Dennis. Listen, today I'd like to talk about a little bit different method of driving the organization created in the office by the project management team down to the field level. And the way that I would propose doing that is through the project schedule. But if we're going to be successful, that schedule needs to be in a format that the crew is gonna be able to understand. And so let me start off by stating the obvious. General contractors primarily manage subcontractors, and subcontractors primarily manage employees. Okay, that's not to say that some general contractors don't have their own crews that do a certain portion of the project, and it's not to say that subcontractors don't ever manage other subcontractors. But the main focus of a general contractor is to manage the other contractors that are going to be working underneath them, and the main focus of a subcontractor is to manage their own crews. And what we're talking about here is managing labor effectively. So we need a schedule that we can drive down to the field that they'll be able to look at and interpret and understand. And it's going to have to be a little bit different than what the general contractor uses to manage other contractors. Basically, my opinion is the schedule needs to be comprised of every task that it's going to take to complete that project. That task list needs to be prioritized from 1 to Z, so that as the crew works through that project, they start with the first task, go on to the second, third, fourth, fifth, and work their way all the way to the end. Now, you could call that your work breakdown structure, and that's fine, but I tend to think of it more as a to-do list. And the reason I do that is because that is something that those people out in the field relate to. Okay, you give them a to-do list that's prioritized, and they can do the first task and check it off, and then the second, and then the third. That's how they like to work. So if you have, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 crews out on your project, then you need to compile these tasks not only in order of priority, but also group them into crews. Okay, each crew is going to have their own set of tasks to work on. And the duration for those tasks, the time to complete them, needs to be determined by estimate data. Because if you use estimate data, it will be very accurate. Tends to be very accurate. So what I'm talking about is a master schedule broke up by phase of construction, with tasks listed under each phase of construction, broken up by crew in the order that they're going to perform them. And this master schedule needs to be easy to translate into 2 or 3 week rolling schedules, so that each crew can pull those, or each crew leader can pull those tasks out of the master schedule, put them onto some type of a template for a 2 to 3 week rolling schedule or look ahead, which basically becomes a 2 to 3 week to-do list that can be checked off as each task is completed. And then they can go to work on that list and work their way through the project. Now, for each phase of construction, there should be a list of milestones that is created by the project management team that crew needs to tick off before they're able to start that series of tasks. So those milestones will ensure that the equipment that they need, the tools they need, the material they need, and the manpower they need are all in place prior to them starting that series of tasks. So this is just a whole kind of different format of schedule. Has the same, 5,000 foot view of the project to tell you the flow of the project, but more detailed so that you can assign certain tasks out to individual crews. And the larger the project is, the less aggregate that list of tasks is going to be, okay? So the smaller the project, the more detailed that list of tasks can be. But as you get into a larger and larger projects, it needs to be less detailed so that you don't get mired down by an enormous list of tasks. It should be chunked up larger into larger chunks. And the size of the project is going to determine the size of the task. But either way, those tasks need to be something that that field crew can relate to and understand, so that the crew leader, whoever that is, foreman, superintendent, whoever you're having put your rolling schedules together, can understand them and plunk them down on a 2 or 3 week look ahead. From there, of course, you need to be able to track that progress, and that's going to have to be done through time card entry. So each one of these tasks need to be able to be fed into some type of tracking structure so that you can accumulate those hours and create a record of, here is what the estimate said was supposed to happen, and here's what actually happened on our project. That's all valuable data that can be passed back to the estimator for future estimates to help tweak them and make them more productive. So basically what I'm talking about is a different type of schedule broke up by phase of construction with very detailed tasks listed underneath, grouped by crew, should tell them exactly how much manpower they need for each task so that they don't have to be picking their own manpower. That manpower should be predicted by the actual estimate so everybody knows it's accurate. Should have a list of milestones prior to starting each phase of construction so that the project management team can take a look and make sure that they've crossed off everything that needs to be in place prior to starting that series of tasks. Those all go onto a rolling schedule, then they get tracked back by time card entry so that you have a good record of what the estimator said was supposed to happen and what the crew actually was able to accomplish. Okay, thank you.